Hey y'all, back to Psalm 119. The next verse says, you, God, through your commandments, have made me wiser than your enemies. For your words, wiser than my enemies, for your words are ever before me. The message says, your commands give me an edge on my enemies. They never become obsolete. God's commands never become obsolete. And that's because what comes out of his mouth, what proceeds out of the mouth of God, never passes away. It does not change. Even the old covenant and the law did not change. Jesus fulfilled the requirements of the law. So it was complete and done. So then there's grace and the new covenant. And that's a whole different ball game for another day. But what comes out of the mouth of God does not change. And it is just as relevant today as it was when he first spoke it. We had a minister preach several weeks ago. It was in January, actually. And he preached on the book of Proverbs. And in the beginning of his message, he said that every book about wisdom or being wise, or not so much self-help, but that type of thing, is all derived from the book of Proverbs. That there has never been a book about wisdom or skill or how to better yourself that was not in some way derived or could not find root in the book of Proverbs, which makes sense because Solomon asked for wisdom, and God said there will never be another wiser than you. And so the book of Proverbs is a record of sayings and teachings, instructions from Solomon. And so we take that wisdom, we take his way, God's way of doing and being right, and that never changes. Regardless of what the situation may look like, his way of doing and being right is applicable. It will not change. And so your commands give me an edge on my enemies. They never become obsolete. Side note on this, I see that, typically the enemy works in a different playing field, right? The enemy works on the basis of what we can see, our senses, what we hear, what we can touch. He works in the sense realm. Oh, God does not work in the sense realm. He calls us higher. He works on a totally different playing field. And so his commands don't deal so much with what we can see, but what the root is. Does that make sense? In that what God tells us to do goes beyond the problem that we see and takes us to the cause of the problem. Takes us not just to what our enemies are trying to do, but maybe the why, but behind why he's trying to do it, which of course for Satan is our destruction. But that his commands give us an edge over our enemies. They make us wiser than our enemies. The next verse says, I have more understanding than all my teachers, for your testimonies are my meditation. I have better understanding and deeper insight because your testimonies are my meditation. Do you hear the things that make the difference? Meditating and pondering on the revelation of God, on what he's revealed to us about himself, his character, his precepts, his teachings, his instructions, his testimonies, his goodness that has been seen. I become smarter than all my teachers since I've pondered and absorbed your counsel, is what the message says there. And not just that we think on it, but that we bring it into part of our being, that we have absorbed his testimonies and absorbed his counsel and his guidance. I've become wiser than the wise old sages simply by doing what you tell me to do. The Amplified says, because I keep your precepts, hearing, receiving, loving, and obeying them. Not that I just keep them in a box on the shelf or in this compartment for when I need to pull them out, but that I keep them and I guard them. And that is what the Tehillim says. Is that it actually uses the word guarded, because I have guarded your precepts. And that takes us back to Proverbs chapter 4, that we keep and guard our heart, and that we put his instructions, let these sayings, let these words not depart from your sight. Keep them in the center of your heart, well guarded in your heart, so that you can be wiser and have an edge on the enemy, so that you can have more understanding and deeper insight than the teachers, and so that you can understand more than the aged. It's all about his words being in the center, and that we guard them, that we value them. All right, we'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.